In what is being derided on the internet from many sides, a protester at Columbia University was pleading for humanitarian aid, except it was for her protesters, not those starving in Gaza. Let's watch.
Why should the university be obligated to provide food to people who've taken over a building?
First of all, we're saying that they're obligated to provide food to students who pay for a meal plan here.
But you mentioned that there was a request that food and water be brought in, unless I misunderstood.
To allow it to be brought in. I mean, well, I guess it's ultimately a question of what kind of community and obligation Columbia feels it has to its students. Do you want students to die of dehydration and starvation or get severely ill, even if they disagree with you? If the answer is no, then you should allow it's crazy to say because we're on an Ivy League campus, but this is like basic humanitarian aid we're asking for. Like, could people please have a glass of water?
But they did put themselves in that very deliberately, in that situation and in that position. So it seems like you're sort of saying, we want to be revolutionaries, we want to take over this building. Now would you please bring us food and water?
Nobody's asking them to bring anything. We're asking them to not violently stop us from bringing in basic humanitarian aid.
They're stopping the delivery of food?
We are looking for a commitment from them that they will not stop it violently.
They haven't stopped it yet.
I don't know to what extent it has been attempted, but we're looking for a commitment.
And
The Twitterverse, or the Xverse, took notice, starting with Elon Musk himself. So great that the Biden administration is forgiving her student loans. Yay, he said, then did actually remove that tweet afterwards. There was also this from Professor David Bernstein. From the river to the sea, please send KFC. Lol, they can get food and water anytime by leaving the building they are illegally occupying. So there is quite a bit of snark going on. And I actually just saw basically everyone making fun of this person. Very little defense of what she was saying.
Wait, I'm sorry. So you think that Columbia students who pay for a meal plan should have the meal plan cut off?
I don't think they're under any obligation to feed them while they are.
Wait a minute. I thought your whole point was contract rights. Contract rights. The people who pay like $200,000 a year in tuition, including a meal plan, should have
hand delivered to them while they're occupying the administrative building.
While you were busy making fun of her, did you bother listening to the words that were coming out of her mouth? Because she specifically said she is not asking for food to be brought into her. She wants a commitment that they are not going to block the students from bringing food to themselves, which, by the way, Columbia has been doing. So that is the question. Should Columbia basically try to starve the students out? And she's completely right. She was so poised and so articulate. She said...
Okay, go ahead. Continue.
She, in an incredibly poised and articulate manner, explained that this is a matter of how the community wants to look. Does Columbia want to look like a university that cares more about starving students out who are protesting a genocide that's being paid for with their own tuition dollars? Or do they, at the very least, want to reinstitute the meal plan so that the student community isn't collectively punished, very Israeli of them, collectively punished out of submitting to their political will? Or do, at the very least, want to allow the student protesters to get their own food and bring it in to the people who are occupying the building and other people on campus, which has been blocked. There was another a beautiful viral video of outside kids passing food through the bars in the university, the gate that has been closed, and as they were being denied access, to feed their community members inside. They're not wanting for food, and they're able to take care of themselves. What they want to know is that whether or not the university is going to try to punish them by starving them, again, much like Israel did for months and is continuing to do with the people of Palestine, in order to win a political fight.
I guess it speaks to how divided this country is, how divided we are. I think a lot of Americans are going to see this as more rich entitlement from elite college campus students who want to face no opposition to taking over a public building, face demand food, and then they're going to all get expelled, and then we're going to have to pay their student loans afterward.
Robby,
the American people will pay.
You just
for
said that they're demanding being brought food. They literally are not.
You said it's the meal plan. You said they're entitled to the food. Isn't that what you were saying?
They paid for the food. They paid for a meal plan.
Do they pay to have it delivered?
They're not asking for it to be delivered, so why do you keep saying that?
Then why do you keep saying they paid for the meal plan? What does that have to do with anything? They can go to the cafeteria and get their food then.
They can't! That's what they're saying.
Right, because of their actions, not because of the university, because they're occupying a building illegally.
No, the university decided to shut down the cafeteria, just like the university decided to go to.
It decided to shut down the cafeteria because of the protests they did.
As a strategy, they impeded the students' ability to come. First of all, okay, so there's a couple of things here. One of the things that was being reported, which we were corrected by a guest earlier this week, was that they had shut down classes, right? They had shut down classes. Now everything has to be remote. That's not true. They gave people the option of going remote. But that narrative has been used to say, oh, the kids are making it worse for all the other Columbia students. Now the university has chosen to end the meal plan. So again, it can use this narrative that says, oh, these protests are making it so that we can't provide all these other services when it's a university choice. And you are buying right into it, siding with the corporation against the students and faculty who overwhelmingly simply want this to end by the university divesting from using educational funds to invest in weapons manufacturing that is being used to kill tens of thousands of people in Gaza. That's what this is all about. So if you think that the young woman who's standing there making a moral case that the university should not punish students for trying to have control over where their money goes and whether it funds a genocide by starving them out of the building,
where my money goes.
if you think she's the one that looks ridiculous, why do you keep saying that too? You know very well that student loan debts aren't getting canceled.
Actually, Biden just announced today this is great time, fantastic timing from the administration. The administration is approving $6.1 billion in student debt cancellation for 317,000 borrowers who attended the art institutes.
Oh, so not her. So you're lying again. So not her. So not a Columbia student. Okay. Even in the best case scenario, as people who actually listened and followed this debate and had a sincere investment in wondering what was happening would know, even under the best case scenario of Biden's own original program, only people who earned less than $25,000 a year got student loan debt canceled. And even then, it was only $10,000 unless you were a Pell Grant recipient, some of the poorest students in the country who then got $20,000 of their loans canceled. If this woman is indeed an elite and a rich person and all of those kinds of things, then she would not have been eligible for the program. Point blank, period. So the question is, why do you keep deflecting and not want to talk about the question of whether or not a university should be in a position where it's trying to starve its kids out instead of coming to the table and actually talking to them about their fight to divest from a state that's committing a genocide halfway across the world with their money?
I think I've said how I feel about them, and people can make their own determination. But while some universities have had riot officers arresting pro-Palestinian protesters last night, others were able to avert the violence, largely thanks to deals negotiated with the protesters. For example, Northwestern administrators announced a deal late Monday that would curb protest activity in return for new advisory committee on university investments, an agreement to support visiting Palestinian faculty and students at risk, providing funding for 2 faculty members for 2 years, and the full cost of attendance for 5 Palestinian undergraduates. There was also Brown University's corporate board agreeing to vote on a proposal to divest from Israeli interests in exchange for the students ceasing demonstrations.
The agreements are drawing criticism from both sides. Some pro-Palestine protesters condemn the agreement as a failure to stay strong on their original demands. One frequent collaborator with Northwestern's Student for Justice in Palestine, Kayla Uchoa, wrote on Instagram, "Please don't inflate your wins. Just be honest, be transparent. Admit when you don't have the strategy and willpower to hold down and take risks."
On the other side, conservative influencer Marina Medvin tweeted in response to the news, quote, "It's important to reward the worst of behavior to make sure you get more and more of it. Great ad for Northwestern." Bill Ackman, the billionaire and CEO of Pershing Square, wrote, quote, "Incentives drive all human behavior. When you reward protesters who violate universities' codes of conduct and the law, you will get more protests and more bad behavior in the future."
Yeah, so I think this is a case in point. I think Wesleyan is the best example of a college that's really come to the table. Brown, I think there's a real concern here that because the vote is punted down, I think, into the fall, that it could be a ruse to simply push past this moment and deflate the movement energy that's happening right now, to offer something that's not going to manifest for quite some time. But I think it really is a testament to how universities can make different kinds of choices. And whereas some universities have simply said, yeah, let's come to the table and talk about divestment, Columbia University has chosen to try to starve its students out and to call the full force of the New York police force to assault them, as we saw in really gripping footage from last night. And some people are going to think that it's the protesters that look bad when they are advocating for not being starved. And some people are going to think that it's the university that has egg on its face and potentially blood on its hands.
Well, some of us think the university looks bad and the protesters look bad, and the police response is worrisome, and the effort to crack down on dissent that will happen at the administrative level and the legal level is the biggest thing to be wary of, but that's not going to stop me from making fun of some of the protesters. So more Rising right after this.